Hello everyone, back with another rules snippet for Blood, a pyro LARP. We're going to look at the base rules today, and this goes around spending and bleeding blood. So all characters will start with 10 blood points. This is what powers the motivation of the characters. We are going to cover a handful of things, so bear with me. But to explain spending and bleeding, when you spend, you're giving the blood to the person you're using this on. When you bleed, you're giving it to the host or storyteller of the event. With those two things in mind, most characters tend to start with 10 blood, though a given scenario or such may change that. So the first thing you do with spending is changes in truths. You can spend a blood to declare a fact about someone. That person then chooses either to accept the blood, adding it to their own and making this fact, or rejecting it, meaning that you don't have to give up the blood. They can also make counter offers, adding more detail and seeing if both accept and the blood still gets spent. In general, you cannot spend blood to undo things that are established or absolutely true. If there's ever a situation where you're not sure, work with the people around you to hopefully solve that. As truths are established, pass them on to the host. Second is violence. You can always initiate violence by bleed. So unlike truths, you can inflict injuries with bleed, but when you do that, your opponent has the choice to do the same thing. And you narrate back and forth agreeing what the injury is. Injuries are totally other mechanic that have narrative consequences. For example, if you have your fingers removed, it would be very hard to pick a lock with that hand, or if a foot removed, you would stumble as you try and run. Most injuries, as being vampires, are restored at the end of the event. So it can get brutal, it can get quite dangerous and such, but that's how that works. Character death. This is an odd one, that unless the story dictates that a character only dies from their injuries, if the player suffering the injury dictates so. This can be used for drama or certain moments in the event, but in general, you have a control over when your character dies. Named blood. Some of your blood will be named. This blood is precious to your existence, and as such, if someone spends your named blood, the fact is always true, unless it's contradicting an established fact in the setting, or that has been established earlier. It is not one you can refuse when people spend it on you. If they spend it on others, not your problem. If they bleed your named blood, that will come back to you in the next session. And finally, gifts. Vampires have supernatural gifts. Some of the general ones in the book, but not limited to, are command, which allows you to control others, giving them one more command. Invisibility, hiding. Resilience. Resilience can be used in place of injuries to a certain degree. Shadow allows you to step between shadows or grab things from one shadow you can see to another. Speed is super speed. Strength is super strength. Transformation is the ability to transform into animals or aspects of them. And vision is seeing things, enhancing your senses, noticing the unknown, and so on. To use your gifts, you must first spend a blood to activate it. If this targets someone, then you bleed. When you're using other players, you have to spend the blood. Otherwise, you bleed a point to activate that power. The more ranks you have in that power, the more potent it is. Keep in mind once again that it is the target that overall decides if this works or not, whether they accept the spent blood and so on. But be reciprocal. You can be rivals with one another, not liking each other, and still work as players to tell an interesting story of politics and vampire bloodlines and violence at times. With that, that pretty much sums up the base rules of this LARP. I'm Matthew Pose. I hope this has been helpful, and I will see you all next time. Have a great week.